Good evening. It's Tuesday, the 29th of May, 2012. I'm Michael O'Year.
And I'm Edith Kimani. And this evening we're joined by Ms. Anne Kiguta, who's going to bring us an update on the ICC cases.
Absolutely. About 2 weeks to go to a status conference, and of course this setting in motion the trial for the Ocampo 4. But ahead of that, they have key concerns that they've brought before the trial chamber, I should say. So that's what I'll be bringing to you in a short while.
Well, thank you very much, Anne. Anne Kiguta with the details of that shortly in this bulletin, and the sports and business also. But first, in the highlights. FBI probes city blast, but was it a fertilizer bomb?
Show us your evidence. Ocampo 4 demand to know identity of witnesses.
Man on the run after killing wife and 2 children.
MPs demand fresh investigations into the 2005-2004 cocaine haul.
Welcome. Tonight, Mutsolio village in Shinyalu, Kakamega has been thrown into total shock and anguish following the chilling murder of a woman and her 2 children. Jeffrey Kamilishi, now reported to be on the run, is believed to have run amok, hacking his wife and the 2 children after a minor disagreement involving food.
Now, this is the second time that Shinyalu area is experiencing this kind of madness, as just 10 years ago, Jamin Mukhobero killed 9 members of his family in this same village. Joy Doreen Bira has the details of this gruesome murder.
Musulia village in Shinyalu, 3 bodies lie in a pool of blood. A man is said to have picked a quarrel with his wife during lunch hours. Eyewitnesses say the man had returned home and headed straight to the kitchen, where he found his wife preparing lunch for the family. Witnesses say he broke pots in the kitchen before turning on his wife with a machete, cutting her in the head indiscriminately. Attempts by his young children to run out of the kitchen ended in death. The man turned on them, hacking down the defenseless children. In the end, lifeless bodies of his 2-year-old daughter, 1-year-old son, and that of his wife lay on the kitchen floor. Minutes earlier, screams and wails for help were heard from the man's homestead and attracted the attention of his neighbors. Alphonse Mushida, one of the villagers who got to the scene, says he found the man mercilessly hacking his own family with a machete and ran to report the murder to the village chief. On return, the man had vanished.
Nini nafanya hii? Hata kwa yeye mwenyewe hata wewe kucha hapa. Wewe kucha. Nikaona macho yake. Sasa kuona hivyo nikakimbilia kupiga assistant chief.
Tears of sorrow and expression of shock were all the residents could afford, as the man now on the run is believed to have had a stable marriage. The cause of the inhumane act remains unknown. The village has had its fair share of such murder cases. In 2002, a man known as Jamin Mohovero butchered 9 of his family members, and in 2008, another man killed 2 of his children in unexplained circumstances. For KTN, I am Joy Doreen Bira.
Police are now looking for a man by the name of Emra Erodgan. He is believed to be the prime suspect in yesterday's blast. Police also suspect that a fertilizer bomb was used in the attack. This comes as foreign investigators from the US's Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, joined the probe.
The Commissioner of Police, Matthew Itere, now says that his department is still on the lookout for a man suspected to have placed a bag in one of the stalls of Asanan's building. In the meantime, owners of the stalls and their employees have also been asked to record statements with the police.
Police this afternoon released the picture of this man who goes by the name of Emrah Erdogan, believed to be of either Turkish or German descent. According to investigations, Emrah may have entered Kenya on May 3rd from Somalia using fake travel documents. The police spokesman, Eric Kiraitha, said Emrah, together with 2 other unknown men, are the prime suspects in yesterday's attack. As traders continue to count their losses, forensic experts are streaming into the scene, collecting evidence and assessing the situation, trying to find out what exact explosive device was used. With all the necessary tools, foreign and local forensic experts sifted through the debris. Even the smallest piece could make a world of difference in their investigations. Sources within the Kenya police say that these men are from the American Federal Bureau of Investigation's FBI, here to give a helping hand to a police department that seems overwhelmed. Preliminary investigations suggest that the improvised explosive device was a fertilizer bomb, an explosive made of ammonium nitrate or fuel oil. This would be the first time a fertilizer bomb has been used. Fortunately, this blast did not kill anyone. However, security expert Simiu Werunga says that this is the deadliest weapon used since the attacks began in November 2011, and this has set a worrying precedent.
You try your best to come out.
Police are working on leads to find the men who are said to have left a suspicious-looking bag at one of the stores moments before the explosion.
There were 2 guys that were suspicious, and she said that one of them was carrying a bag. Then he came to the shop. He came to the shop number 10. He wanted to buy some t-shirts, that's what he said. Then he came and dropped and put the bag on a stool. Then he said, let me go call my friend, because there were 2. The other friend had just passed. So after he left, that is when there was a blast.
Though no arrests have been made, the police continue to collect statements from eyewitnesses in an effort to track down their prime suspects. Catherine Omwando, KTN Prime.
5 Kenyans are still admitted at the Kenyatta National Hospital nursing severe injuries from the blast along Moi Avenue. 23 casualties who'd sustained minor cuts and burns were, however, discharged by the end of the day. Medical Services Minister Professor Anyang' Nyong'o is now lobbying Treasury to allocate more funds to the referral hospital in its next budget. KTN's Asha Mwilu with the details.
Innocent Kenyans were yet again the most affected from another city blast, and although no life was lost following the Moi Avenue explosion, 37 Kenyans suffered injuries from the incident. Out of the 28 casualties rushed to the Kenyatta National Hospital, 23 have so far been discharged, with doctors still attending to the 5 who suffered serious injuries.
One of the patients has sustained 90% burns. The second one sustained 50% burns, and the third one 10% burns. Besides that, 2 of them have fractures.
While commending the hospital for handling the emergency well, Medical Services Minister Professor Anyang' Nyong'o said that the government would increase its funding to the referral hospital.
We as a ministry has made this presentation to Treasury that once more, as the budget committee meets in Naivasha, we are going to send a very strong message that it is something that the government can no longer assume away, but the government must be prepared ahead of time for such disasters so that Kenyatta does not accumulate tremendous debts.
Kenyatta National Hospital has received more than 371 victims from 10 disasters that have rocked the city since September last year. 142 of these casualties are victims of 4 grenade attacks in Nairobi and the most recent explosion along Moi Avenue. Even though doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital have been able to discharge a majority of the casualties received from yesterday's blast, the challenge now is for the victims to get over their traumatic experience and for the government to compensate those affected. Reporting for KTN, I'm Asha Mwilu in Nairobi.
Right, Anki Gute is back in studio with details of the Ocampo 4 fresh demands, I understand.
Absolutely, and they're crucial demands because the status conference is coming up, and that conference is expected to set the ground for trials to commence. So here we go. The Ocampo 4 want the ICC prosecution team to disclose witnesses and evidence. Now, we will get to the details of their concerns in a short while, but first, let's begin with what the prosecution had to say. Now, in a statement to the court, Luis Moreno Ocampo says that based on the assumption that the chambers will sit continuously, then it is his take that his office will have approximately 1 year to present its case. And as you will later see, that point will become a big issue for William Ruto and Joshua Sang, who will argue that this will jeopardize their cases since it falls on an election year. But back to Ocampo, as far as the start date of the trials is concerned, the prosecution says that this depends on the court's ability to protect witnesses. He adds that the security situation here in Kenya continues to present a major challenge for the court to protect the victims and the witnesses, and wants to be able to disclose witnesses and their statements in a systematic manner, with a distinction made between those witnesses who are part of the court's protection program and those who are not. Now let's take a look at Uhuru Kenyatta's statement. Well, his lawyers are particularly concerned with the disclosure given so far by the prosecution. They are arguing that there have been significant and large-scale editing of witness statements. They say that this has prevented the defense from comprehensively analyzing the evidence. They want to investigate the redacted passages to challenge the reliability and the integrity of certain witnesses relied upon by the prosecution. While Uhuru's defense has also requested the ICC to hold the trials here in Kenya, citing financial issues. While both requests, we will see, will now be echoed by Francis Mudhaura. Mudhaura's defense wants full disclosure within strict deadlines. His legal team says the ability of the defense to be ready for trial is very largely dependent upon the prosecution completing its disclosure obligations. They have also asked that the trial take place here in Kenya or in Tanzania. On to William Ruto now. And he raises the concerns about the timing of the trial and Kenya's general election. His lawyers say that he intends to submit his candidature for president of Kenya, and with the election likely to be held next year, Ruto says that he is preaching peace and reconciliation so that the coming election runs smoothly. His defense submits that if the trial starts in March next year, then this might affect the expeditiousness of that trial. And finally, we take a look at Joshua Arap Sang's demands. He is also concerned with the date of the case in relation to the next election. He wants the trial to commence after the next general election here in Kenya. Sang says that the elections and campaign environment that has already started will limit his legal team's capacity to effectively investigate and make arrangements for trial. For instance, he says that some potential witnesses who were engaged in politics during the 2007-2008 election cycle have likewise re-engaged themselves for the 2013 election, while a status conference, as I've earlier mentioned, is slated for June the 11th and the 12th. That's it from me. Back to Edith and Michael.
Thank you very much, Anne. Moving to other stories, the government has refused to rescind its decision on the controversial appointment of 47 county bosses. Attorney General Gibu Muigai says that the President does have the powers to appoint the county commissioners.
Members of Parliament have been locked in the controversy, saying the President did not consult before making the appointments. KTN's Samogina reports.
The government has stood ground over the controversial appointment of 47 county commissioners. After a public outcry on the constitutionality of the appointments, President Mwai Kibaki revoked earlier appointments that were based on Section 17 of the 6th Schedule on restructuring of the provincial administration, but later validated the appointments in a Kenya Gazette notice of 23rd May 2012, premised on the old constitution and the transitional provision of the new constitution.
We cannot hide behind an old constitution. Certain aspects of the whole constitution has been saved in the current constitution so that we can continue with impunity.
It's embarrassing itself and the people of Kenya as well, because you cannot purport to make an appointment based on a constitutional provision. Then you come to the House, realize the mistake you did, then you purport now to correct it by bringing another Gazette notice.
To bypass legality challenges, Kibaki in the second Gazette notice invoked sections 23 and 24 of the old constitution that vest executive authority on the President to make such appointments. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on the Implementation of the Constitution, Attorney General Professor Gibu Muigai was hard-pressed to defend the President's decision.
that the section vesting the executive authority in the President was not saved. The President no longer enjoys executive authority. And I'm saying that as a person who wishes to occupy that office.
The former Constitution of the Republic of Kenya is still in force, and parts of it have been suspended. All right? There are parts of the former Constitution that are in force, and the Constitution says so.
MPs punched holes on the list of the county bosses, reprimanding the appointment as skewed and undermining ethnic, gender and regional balance as engendered in the Constitution.
And I'm wondering whether you are ready to take responsibility for your county commissioners who you have written their names in gazette notices and therefore made them public and are going to areas where people will see them coming as people whose mandate is not clear, except that maybe of manipulating an electoral process.
You cannot just go all the way down and pick somebody who has not gone through all the various steps to be there. And I dare say, General, that is why you are gradually now trying to do the best thing you can to ensure that the army is, basically conform with the Constitution.
CIOC has demanded that the 47 county commissioners be vetted in public. Samogina, KTN Prime.
Well, here's an interesting one. Prisoners around the country may soon enjoy conjugal rights if Parliament adopts a report by a task force set to look into prison reforms. Now, this debate yet again rocked the floor of the House, with a number of legislators demanding that the Home Affairs Ministry fast-track the issue. KTN's Betty Kialo with the details.
And the parks continue. Apart from prisoners getting a number of luxuries, the Kenyan government could soon be adding the most spectacular of them all to the list, the conjugal rights. This afternoon, members of parliament seemed to enthusiastically support the much debated issue.
Mr. Speaker, most importantly, what the minister has not addressed is constitutional, and that is the right to conjugal rights as a bill of rights by the prisoners. And Mr. Speaker, I'm dismayed that the Honourable Minister has not made any reference at all to the Constitution.
There is a task force which was formed last year, 2011, to work on the issue of the conjugal rights, and it is part of the report, which I said my ministry officials are working on it. And then later on it will go to the AG, the cabinet, and eventually the bill will soon come to the House.
However, Garsen Member of Parliament Danson Mungatana was quick to challenge her.
Do you need to have a law passed by Parliament for that to be effected? And yet, the ministry can gazette certain rules to effect the Constitution, Article 51. Must you wait for all that process when it's within your powers under Article 51 to gazette rules that will enable immediate enjoyment of this constitutional right?
Conjugal rights in prisons will probably be one of the most radical reforms since the start of the implementation of the high-level report on prisons reforms. For KTN Prime, I'm Betty Kialo.
And that's the subject of tonight's big question. And we ask whether you think prisoners should be allowed their conjugal rights.
Well, send us your brief comments beginning with a yes or a no to our SMS number. That's 8040, and we will sample some of your comments at the end of this live newscast. Well, in other news, a 5-judge bench appointed by the Chief Justice to hear and determine all cases filed in court against IEBC's proposed new electoral boundaries began its preliminary hearing today at the Milimani Court here in Nairobi. Presiding Judge Mohamed Warsame, together with High Court judges Helen Omondi, Ruth Sitati, Pauline Nyamwea and David Majanja, will now begin the full trial starting tomorrow and then move to other regions in the course of the next month. Nakuru, Mombasa, Kakamega, Kisii and Garissa are other towns where the bench will pitch camp to listen to petitions. They have until July 5th to hear and determine all the 125 cases filed by individuals, lobby groups, ethnic groups, non-governmental organizations, and other interested parties in the newly created boundaries. IEBC will not start the process of registration on voters in readiness for the coming elections until all the cases are heard and determined.
And just before we take the break, a reminder again of the big question that we just gave you. Do you think prisoners should be allowed conjugal rights?
Well, the way to do it is to send us your yes or no comment to 8040, and we will sample some of your views at the end of this live newscast.
Indeed, you are watching KTN Prime, and just ahead,
Uhuru seeks the Maasai vote.
Are you interested in owning a home? Join us from 1st to 3rd June for a chance to meet home developers and financiers. Come join us during the Kitengela Homes and Investors Expo at Yuko's grounds in Kitengela Town.
Escape to freedom. Indulge in fragrance. This is a life full of flavor. Serving up some of the best food found anywhere.
You belong to me, and I belong to you.
Welcome to Pwani Life. Coca-Cola, be part of the journey. Keroche Breweries Limited, leaders in quality. And now, introducing another one from the home of quality. Triple distilled Crescent Vodka, now available. The home of quality. Truly Kenyan.
For 25 years, Visa has helped athletes get to the Olympic Games. Now, we're going to help you get there too. When you pay with your Visa card, you stand a chance to win a return trip for two to the London 2012 Olympic Games to fuel the athletes that you stand and cheer in person. Visa, supporting athletes and the Olympic Games for 25 years. People everywhere go with Visa.
Turn your house into a home by visiting the Iranian Solo exhibition with fantastic offers on furniture, leather products, handicrafts, carpets, and so much more. the Iranian Solo Exhibition from 26th May to 8th June at KICC. Entrance and parking is free.
Kenya reads strength and wisdom beyond borders.
Mimi naamini nchi imebarikiwa. Ndio tunalisha watoto wetu, ndio tunalisha wajukuu wetu, ndio nyumbani. Mimi najua ukipanda kayapa, uwezi ukavuna mboga. Kila roho ya Mkenya ni shamba la Kenya. Hiyo roho yangu na yako ndio shamba la Kenya, wajukuu wetu watakayovuna baadaye. Mbona tuwapandie mimea ya chuki na ukabila na tufikirie watavuna mapenzi? Uchaguzi ujao ni wakati wa kupanda mbegu za furaha na umoja katika taifa letu la Kenya. Hiyo ni kazi nimejitolea, na naapa kwa jina langu na la jamii langu nitachagulia Wakenya viongozi wanaolenga taifa letu, sio kabila yake.
Furahia undugu na uko wetu, na sherekea kazi na bidii yetu, tuvute pamoja, tushirikiane, bega kwa bega tujikaze, tusaidiane.
Welcome back to KTN Prime.
Members of Parliament are tonight asking the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, to start fresh investigations into the 6.4 billion shilling cocaine haul that was seized in Kenya in 2004. The lawmakers want top government officials linked to the drug haul to be arrested and charged. Further, the MPs are demanding that police boss Matthew Itere should step aside to facilitate investigations after he was adversely mentioned by their two brothers in the KTN investigative series, The Untouchables. Patrick Amimo reports.
Gishugu lawmaker Martha Karua said a lot of information had come into public domain, including murder of police officers investigating owners of the seized cocaine. Last August, an inquest confirmed that senior GSU officer Erastus Chemorei was executed in broad daylight without any reasonable excuse. The officer was believed to have been keeping keys to the stores where the cocaine was secured. MPs are now pushing for a new probe and resignations of top government officials implicated in the case.
Could the Attorney General find out if investigations have been reopened, names of people in high places?
Tell the Kenyan public, Mr. Speaker, who are the drug lords in this country, Mr. Speaker?
Tell us how we will deal with one Mr. Itere, who was part of the Kenyan team, who was then in charge of the GSU.
Could he come with evidence to this House to prove that what was being destroyed was actually cocaine and not ungangano?
It is Kilome MP Harun Mwau who kicked off the debate when he wanted the Attorney General to provide details of all the suspects linked to the estimated 1.5 tons of cocaine that was seized in Kenya in 2004.
George Kirago, alias George Kenothia. 2. David Mugo Kirago. 3. Railton Mudongo James Nderito, alias James Nderito.
Members criticized Githu for seeking more time to answer supplementary questions on the drug seizure.
What the DPP gave me were names of the suspects who were being investigated. There was no way either I or the DPP would have anticipated that this House would want to know whether any of its members was mentioned in that report.
Being quite honest that if the question relates to another office in government, there should be proper consultation in government before he brings answers to this question.
In the past, there have been more or less a conspiracy to conceal the truth relating to this matter.
The Attorney General assured the House that he will give comprehensive answers to their questions within 2 weeks. Patrick Amimo, KTN Prime.
In local politics, Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta says Kenyans should not deny him a chance to be president just because he comes from the same community as the first president of the nation, Jomo Kenyatta, and the current president, Mwai Kibaki. Uhuru spoke in Loitoktok as Eldoret North Member of Parliament William Ruto also toured Maralal, where he called on residents to ensure that Kenya does not return to violence in the next elections.
Uhuru Kenyatta wants Kenyans to be given a free hand to determine who among the over 10 presidential aspirants will be the ultimate occupant of State House as Kenya's fourth president. His contention is that technical as well as artificial barriers were already being erected for some of the so-called front-runners in the race to State House.
Mtu anasema wewe Uhuru huna haki ya kutafuta kwa sababu yeye ni Mkikuyu na Kibaki ni Mkikuyu. Kwani tulizaliwa kwa tumbo moja? Si mimi nilizaliwa na fikira zangu na yeye na zake. Yeah? Kwa nini mimi nikose kwa sababu amepata?
Addressing the National Alliance supporters in Loitoktok, Uhuru maintained that even some of the emerging legal issues surrounding his candidature on account of the post-election violence cases at the ICC would not stop him.
Msita watafutie wengine makesi ati ya kujibu ndio wasiwe kule. Wacha wananchi wenyewe waamue hao ni namna gani?
The de facto United Republican Party leader William Ruto was pitching tent in Maralal, where he indicated he would push for the army to be included as part of the security apparatus during the next general elections to ensure Kenya does not return to chaos.
Serikali ihakikishe ya kwamba jeshi la polisi na jeshi la army wajumuishwe katika kuweka usalama katika taifa letu. Tunaelewana?
No, Tino, KTN Prime.
Elsewhere, the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture now warns that the country could face an acute food shortage in the coming months due to a mysterious maize disease which has affected about half of the crop countrywide. Flanked by legislators from the South Rift, the MPs now demand that the government compensate the losses incurred by the affected farmers. KTN's Betty Kialo has the details.
Following reports that Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu counties, which produce 80% of maize in the country, have lost more than half of the crop due to a strange maize disease, there is an uproar among a cross-section of MPs from the South Rift region who attribute the problem to the importation of contaminated grains by unscrupulous traders eager to make high profits. The legislators allege that the problem was seed-borne and not soil-borne, as government agencies had indicated.
We really do not understand what a ministry is trying to advance in this case, to say that it is an issue about soil. Why all of a sudden? We have been planting maize twice a year all over the years, and last year we didn't have that kind of disease.
The MPs questioned how the contaminated maize ended up in the country, yet there were government institutions mandated with inspecting imported grains. According to the legislators, the country stood to lose billions of shillings in the scam, as more maize are needed to be imported to address the deficit caused by the disease. His sentiments were echoed by Keio North Member of Parliament, Lucas Chepkitoni, who termed the disease as serious and a threat to thousands of livelihoods.
This has come about, I think, because of uncontrolled importation.
The chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture, John Mutudo, termed the impasse as a major scam which could cost the country billions of shillings.
In other news, 2 women are nursing injuries after they were attacked by lions in Nyahururu. This is Teachers Union KNUT threatens to paralyze learning in schools if free education funds are not released. These and more in our new brief.
2 women are nursing serious injuries at the Nyahururu District Hospital after they were attacked by stray lions within Kinamba area in Laikipia West on Monday evening. Residents say the lions have been wreaking havoc in the area, killing and eating livestock and posing danger to human life, but the security organs have taken little or no action. Elsewhere, the Kenya National Union of Teachers (NAT) will paralyze learning activities if the government does not dispatch free primary and secondary education funds by June 4th. NAT Chairman Wilson Sossion accused the government of deliberately delaying the funds. The union is also demanding that the government should employ 70,000 more teachers within an immediate effect. Meanwhile, there was drama outside the Malindi Law Courts when a court process server, David Muiruri, engaged the detectives in a heated argument as they tried to arrest him. Muiruri had just filed an application at the same court to have Judge Christine Meoli disqualified from hearing a land dispute case. He later accompanied the police to the station where he was locked up for charges filed by the judge. Still at the coast, residents of Kikambala in Mtwapa held protests demanding that land taken from the ancestors and sold to private developers be returned to them. The residents, who said they have been living as squatters for decades, accused the government of failing to address their issues even after raising numerous complaints for years. In Bungoma, Nzoia Sugar Company has sourced 400 tractors in a move to curb the transport problems and cut down on operation cost. 10 tractors were delivered to the sugar company in a deal with CMC Motors that will see 90 tractors delivered within the next 12 months. The company managing director says the company will save millions of shillings paid out annually to private transporters.
Well, we'll be coming back with more on KTN Business Today.
James Karani will be bringing us all the details, so do stay tuned.
Can the Attorney General, as he goes to consult the DPP, tell us how we will deal with one Mr. Itere, who was part of the Kenyan team, who was then in charge of the GSU, under whose command a police officer was killed, under whose command this whole fiasco that is looking very fishy happened, and he now currently is our Commissioner of Police.
Escape to freedom. Here life is full of flavor, where you can enjoy good health and some of the best food found anywhere.
You belong to me, and I belong to you.
Welcome to Pwani Life.
At last, an investment group account for people with big ideas. For investment groups with big ideas, now there is the Fusion Group account from Consolidated Bank. Open your account today and enjoy no monthly charges, attractive interest rates and savings, loans up to 3 times the group savings at attractive interest rates, free internet banking, and membership to the bank's business club. Terms and conditions apply.
Consolidated Bank, growing with you.
At UAP, we enhance lives across Africa. Insurance, investment management, property investment, and financial advisory. UAP, better, simple life.
That may be good enough for these gems, but gems are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
KTN Business Today in association with Visa.
When you pay with your Visa card, you stand a chance to win a return trip for 2 to the London 2012 Olympic Games.
A very good evening to you. Time for KTN Business Today on this Tuesday, the 29th day of May 2012. I'm James Karani. We begin with news that the Communications Commission of Kenya could be ceding ground to network operators on mobile termination rates. This follows a meeting earlier today convened by the parent ministry. KTN's Michael Karanja caught up with Information Minister Samuel Pohisio soon after that particular meeting and filed the following report.
The introduction of the glide path in 2009 was expected to lead to a reduction in local calling rates. However, this led to a vicious price war that saw some telecoms such as Safaricom and Telkom Kenya question the objective of the move, which they argued would erode their profitability. In a bid to restore confidence and stabilize the mobile market, the minister now says a new methodology for calculating termination rates will be announced before the effecting of the 35 reduction in July.
Consensus is building, and very soon, as soon as it's possible for CCK to take that through their board and also for industry to continue the discussions, something is going to be is in the offing.
The study that was adopted by the CCK proposed to have interconnection rates reduced from 4 shillings and 40 cents at the time, going down in phases and eventually scrapped off by January 2014. The bone of contention amongst most operators has been on the dominance enjoyed by Safaricom, meaning they ended up terminating most of their calls at a higher cost. The ministry now says it is time for market players to come together to push the sector to greater heights. According to the minister, other issues discussed in the Tuesday meeting centered on frequency licensing, cross-sharing of money transfer services, and the increased cable cuts that were affecting quality of service in the industry. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
So it just might take a little bit longer before the calling rates get even cheaper. But moving on to the business, the economic promise that belies the devolved system of government in the future excites many. But the devil in the details is emerging, and business leaders and analysts are now keenly looking at the policy framework that accompanies the decentralization of governance. A key element of this is the ease of doing business across all 47 counties. This is the focus of Business Weekly, our premier business show, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. But here is a bit of a taste of what we have lined up for you.
So we're going to have a lot of fragmentation of how, say, the government works. We already have a semblance of that in the current system where we have the county councils, for example, but now it will be under the county governments. So I think as a company, what I would be looking at is what sort of spend or what areas I would be able to support or to get business within the county level, and how I would need to make my presence at the county level and at the national level. Whereas we have been used to a central system where we are doing things from the center and going down to the different parts of the country.
So as I've said, that's just a taste of what we have lined up for you on KTN's Business Weekly. Catch it at 8:30 with Michael Oyer. Housing Finance has secured an 850 million shillings bilateral term loan with the London-based Ghana International Bank PLC. The medium-term loan will go a long way in supporting the housing finance mortgage lending business. Philip Ketan with more details.
The mortgage lender expects to improve its market standing with the loan as it seeks to serve a growing clientele. This comes at a time when the demand for low and medium income property financing in the country is seen as growing. According to the Housing Finance Managing Director Frank Ireri, the firm will continue to tap affordable international funds to accelerate the growth and reduce operating costs. On the other hand, Ghana's International Bank's Managing Director and CEO Joe Mensah says the loan will enable Housing Finance offer affordable mortgages for its middle and low income market target. Today's signing by Housing Finance follows the recently signed international financing agreement for 2.2 billion shillings with the European Investment Bank for funding to small and medium enterprises in the construction industry. More recently, the listed financier set in motion its current account base, also expected to broaden its lending muscle. The Ghanaian International Bank is a London-based corporate bank offering correspondent banking, corporate banking, treasury services, international trade, finance and transaction services, mainly to financial institutions and corporate entities across Africa. Philip Ketan for KTN Business Today.
Most chief financing officers, better known as CFOs, are advocating for the lowering of corporate tax. In a survey conducted by audit firm Deloitte East Africa, 80% of the CFOs polled want the tax brought down to a manageable level to ease the cost of doing business. Bonitonia with a full report.
According to Nikhil Hira, tax partner at Deloitte, corporate tax reduction will be a relief for most companies as they will have their income tax burden reduced, a fact that has vividly been brought out by a majority of chief financial officers who were surveyed. The finding also indicates that a special income tax rate for SME had proven feasible in other industrial countries, such as the UK, and increased compliance in the segment, with many respondents asking the government to legislate a timeframe within which tax refunds must be paid, failure to which interest rates at the base lending rates should accrue. The current interest rate regime adds to the tax burden, and it will seem the only way tax refunds will be expedited if delayed payments are subjected to interest rates borrowed from last year, which saw drastic fall in the value of the Kenyan shilling against major world currencies, a phenomenon which raised the cost of living and doing business in Kenya and across the East African region. The survey also expressed a cautious optimism on business environment in 2012 and beyond. Boni Tunya for KTN Business Today.
And now a look at some of the other stories that made it in our corporate briefs.
National carrier Kenya Airways has announced the launch of flights to 2 new destinations, Kilimanjaro in northern Tanzania and Eldoret in Kenya's Rift Valley, beginning July. The airline will fly to Kilimanjaro International Airport and twice daily to Eldoret starting July the 4th. The launch of the new destination is expected to strengthen the airline's presence in the region. The carrier will operate narrow-body Embraer E170 aircraft on the Eldoret route, with KQ660 and KQ661 departing from Nairobi and Eldoret at 0740 hours and 0910 hours respectively. The Chartered Financial Analysts CFA, a global association of investment professionals that sets the standard for professional excellence, today celebrated 50 years of the Chartered Financial Program by hosting an opening ceremony at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, NSE, and 25 other financial centers around the world. The program represents a global context and covers topics such as fixed income analysis, alternative and derivative investment, and portfolio management. Philip Keitan for KTN Business Today.
Well, now let's take a look at how the Kenyan shilling performed today.
KTN Business Today in association with Visa.
Visa, supporting athletes and the Olympic Games for 25 years.
Even the British athletes who have experienced the Olympics before know that London 2012 and an adoring home crowd is once in a lifetime. Hopefuls like Mo Farah can hardly wait.
Oh yeah, it's going to be amazing competing in London. As you said, I can't think too much ahead yet. It's just got to take one race at a time, 1 year at a time.
Of course, you want to do your friends, family and your support system networks proud. So it's good to have support. It's also important to stay focused.
As soon as I tell someone I do athletics, they're like, oh, you do running? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, you go in the Olympics? That's the first question anyone asks. So if I actually went to the Olympics, and when people ask me, oh, did you go to the Olympics? I can say, yeah, I did.
For the host nation heroes, it's game
on. Drostihov Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a white wine which can range from clean and crisp with a hint of varietal flavor to rich and complex oat-aged wines. Chardonnay typically balances fruit, acidity and texture. This varietal goes well with everything from fish and poultry to cheese, spicy foods and nut sauces. Drostihov. Every year is a good year.
Okay, I'm reloaded. Chafua Malawi ndani ya Kasarani na Radio Maisha ya Jumamosi hii ya tarehe 2 kuanzia saa 10 jioni. Good to go. Jishindie tikiti za mechi kati ya Harambee Stars na Malawi uwanjani Kasarani. Sikiliza Radio Maisha kwa nafasi yako kujishindia tikiti ya mechi hii muhimu ya kuwania nafasi ya kuingia katika dimba la dunia. Urilanga, uandastandanga. Let us move on. Hata sijui nianzie wapi.
Ogao for
the 7th time, Kenya Corner Group presents Crazy Monday Comedy Night at the Hilton on 4th June as from 6:30 to 10 p.m. Charges are 500 shillings. Imagine on stage, Oga Jalango, Oga Mshamba, Oga Otoyo, Oga Laki Balao, Kachumbari, and myself, Dr. Ofenekeo, among others. Music by Joseph Henon. Tickets available now at the Hilton lobby. Ample parking at the basement for those with big cars. What can we gonna do?
Crazy Monday Comedy Night is sponsored by The Standard, Crazy Monday, Hilton Hotel, Kenya Corner Group, Molo Milk, More Sound, and Daylight Screens.
Oga, what are you waiting for? Run and get your ticket now.